My name's Daniel. I'm 35, and until a year ago, I thought I was living the kind of life most people only dream about. I had a stable job as an engineer, a comfortable house in the suburbs, and a wife, Emma, who I believed loved me more than anything. We met in college. She studied graphic design. I studied mechanical engineering. Emma had this energy, that kind of light that made everyone notice her when she walked into a room. I was quiet, the kind of guy who planned things, fixed things, thought before speaking. She once said she liked that about me, that I made her feel safe in a world full of chaos. Our marriage wasn't flashy. It was steady. We had our morning routines. I'd make coffee. She'd toast the bread. We'd talk about work, plans for the weekend, sometimes argue about silly things like which movie to watch. Nothing unusual. Nothing alarming. If you looked at us from the outside, you'd think we were fine, maybe even happy. And for a long time, I thought we were. I remember one Saturday morning clearly. Emma sat across from me at the breakfast table, scrolling through her phone. I asked, "Want to go hiking this weekend? We haven't gone in a while." She looked up, smiled faintly, and said, "You're so predictable, Dan." I laughed it off. I thought she was joking. But something about the way she said it, the little smirk, the roll of her eyes, stuck with me longer than it should have. It started with small changes. Emma began staying late at work more often. She said her company had new clients and tight deadlines. I didn't question it at first. She'd always been ambitious, and I wanted to support that. But then there were the little things I couldn't ignore. She'd shower right after coming home, something she'd never done before. Her phone was suddenly always face down. Notifications silenced. When I'd walk into a room, she'd lock her screen faster than I could blink. One night, she came home around 11. Her makeup was smudged, and she smelled like cologne. Not hers, not mine. Long night. I asked, keeping my tone light. "Yeah," she said, grabbing a glass of water. "Client dinner. You know how it is." But I didn't know. Emma was a graphic designer. She didn't have client dinners at 11 p.m. That night, while she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and felt my chest tighten. Something inside me whispered that the woman I loved was slipping away, or maybe she was already gone. A few days later, she said she needed to borrow my laptop because hers wasn't charging. After she left for work, I noticed she'd forgotten to log out her email. I shouldn't have looked, but I did, and there it was. Emails to a man named Lucas. Subject lines like, "Last night was amazing," and "Can't wait to see you again." My stomach turned. My hands went cold. The worst part wasn't reading the words. It was realizing how normal they sounded. Like she'd been living this double life for months, maybe longer. That night, she came home and kissed me on the cheek like nothing had happened. I almost laughed, because now every smile, every "I love you" felt like a knife she didn't even bother to hide anymore. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted to see how far she'd go. Over the next week, I watched closely. She'd say she was working late. Then I'd track her location, a small app we'd installed years ago for safety. She wasn't at work. She was at a hotel downtown. One night, I drove there, parked across the street, and there she was, walking out of the lobby, laughing, holding hands with Lucas. She looked free, almost radiant. I sat there in my car, numb. That was the moment I stopped being her husband and became something else. A man who needed closure, not revenge for anger's sake, but something poetic, something final. I didn't yell. I didn't confront her. I became quiet, dangerously quiet. Emma thought I was distracted with work, but I was planning my exit. I started documenting everything. Emails, photos, dates. Quietly transferred our shared savings into a separate account. Legally mine, since it was my salary deposit. I also contacted a divorce lawyer, told him everything, and started preparing the papers. One night, while we had dinner, she smiled and said, "You've been different lately. What's wrong?" I looked in the eyes and said, "Just tired, I guess." She nodded, smiled, and went back to texting. Probably him. That's when I knew I had her exactly where I wanted her. Comfortable, confident, careless. For her birthday, I decided to do something special. I told her I booked a weekend getaway, just the two of us, at a resort by the lake. She seemed genuinely surprised. "You're full of surprises lately," she said, laughing. I smiled. "You said I was too predictable." That weekend, we arrived at the resort. She took pictures, posted them online. Weekend getaway with my husband, Red Heart. I almost pitted her. Almost. On the second night, I handed her a small wrap box. Inside wasn't jewelry. It was a USB drive, the same one I'd used to store all her emails, screenshots, and photos. "What's this?" she asked, smiling. "Just open it when you get home," I said. "It's a surprise." She looked confused, but didn't press it. When we returned home that Sunday evening, I waited until she went to shower. Then I placed the divorce papers on the kitchen table, next to a copy of that USB drive. On top of it, I left a note that said, "You want it unpredictable. Here it is." Then I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't say goodbye. I just left, calm, silent, free. I moved into a small apartment across town. The silence was heavy at first, but peaceful, like a storm had passed, and I was finally breathing again. 2 days later, she called. Dozens of times. I didn't answer. Then she showed up at my building, crying. "Daniel, please, let me explain," she said, voice trembling. "There's nothing to explain, Emma," I said quietly. "You already did." She broke down, told me Lucas ended things when he found out she was married. Apparently, he didn't want drama. She said she made a mistake, that she still loved me, that she wanted to fix things. But love doesn't survive deceit. It doesn't come back once you've seen how easily someone can destroy it. I told her, "Emma, I wish you peace, but I'm done being predictable." The divorce went through smoothly. My lawyer handled everything. Clean, precise, legal. She tried to negotiate for more, but I had everything documented. Every lie, every betrayal, every proof. In the end, she left with nothing but regret. I heard she moved out of state. Lucas blocked her. Her new job fell through. Maybe that's karma. Maybe it's just life balancing itself. As for me, I rebuilt. Slowly. Quietly. I started running again. Cooking my own meals. Learning how to be alone without being lonely. Sometimes when I pass by that old lake, I think about that weekend, how she smiled, thinking she was winning, not realize it was already over. I don't hate her anymore. Hate keeps you tied to what hurt you. Letting go, that's the real revenge. That day I finally did. I let go.